bug, man, and we've got to fix it because it's got to be like we designed. It's sort of like a Western engineering philosophy. Like, you're going to build exactly the thing that you set out to build, right? There's a different way of creating games, which is instead of being declarative, it's engaging and listening. And I talked a lot about this morning in prototyping. Like, I would kind of build a prototype. I would start with some declarative idea, but I'm willing to veer off that path, right? I'll see what comes up, and then like, oh, you know, this thing over here is kind of interesting. I'm going to explore over here instead of, whoa, and walk too far from the mic, and instead of sticking close to the territory that I started with, right? And when you're in the listening mindset, you can discover a lot of really cool things like subtlety and depth that you wouldn't have imagined, right? That, like, I wouldn't have been wise enough to declare something about my game, but if I'm open to discovering it, then I can incorporate it in. I can get something really rich and wonderful out of that. And I want to put forth, this is all very abstract and academic, but I want to put forth 2 examples of games in theory. I haven't talked to the designers, but that I think did this, right? And that I think if they were designed by most teams today, they would have squashed these wonderful subtleties that actually came out of the game. Okay, so first game is Smash TV. I don't, you know, there's a kind of a young crowd in here, so maybe a lot of you guys haven't played this. It's actually on Xbox Live, right? But everybody over a certain age has played this game. It's an 8-way shooter. It's sort of a parody of an 80s game show kind of setting where you win money and valuable cash prizes by running around shooting guys who are thrown into an arena, all right? And it sounds like a really dumb game, but there's like a lot of levels of really interesting things that happen, right? So the enemies come in hordes, and it's often too much to deal with, but you kind of know when it's going to happen because there are these doors on the side of the arena, right? And they start out closed, and when they're closed, they're very heavy doors and they take time to open. So you know it's probably safe to run by because no one's going to come out and attack you, right? But sometimes one of these doors will open, and then it's a very dangerous area because like you're like, oh, you know, I could try to run by there to get away from this tank, but maybe some guys are going to run out and attack me, right? Everybody who's played a lot of Smash TV knows what I'm talking about because this happens like 5 times a minute in this game. You're always thinking about this aspect of Smash TV. There's something very interesting, though, that just arose from the form of this game that I don't believe was designed in, right? If you 2 minutes?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. If you look at the perspective of the game, it's kind of this isometric thing where you can see 3 of those doors very clearly, but naturally, because of the perspective that was chosen for the camera, you cannot see the door on the bottom of the screen. And that has a very interesting effect on Smash TV that, again, people who played a lot of this game will understand. The bottom of the screen is very, very dangerous because you never know if that door is open or closed. And so it takes a playfield. This is just generally a rectangle that would normally be equally dangerous, but it takes that playfield and it creates a danger gradient where you really don't want to be at the bottom. Man, that's scary. And you want to be kind of at the top where like the scores are, and it's kind of nice up there, right? So, you know, here's just another screenshot of like, this can happen at any time, like guys pouring into the bottom of that door, right? I believe that this was a thing that emerged in their design, and they saw it and they thought it was cool, and they chose not to fix it, right? I think if we came at this with a modern declarative viewpoint or method of designing games, it would be viewed as a bug. Like somebody would file a bug in like the bug listing that says, damn it, you can't tell when the bottom door is open. Let's make a new art asset where the top, that top frame is kind of gone so you can see the doors through it, and you can tell when they're open or closed even from, something like that would have happened, right? Especially if it was like an MMO designer or something. That's a really cool thing. All right, so the second example is Pac-Man. I just realized that I have not yet tied this into innovation at all. I will get to that. Okay, so Pac-Man Championship Edition, right? Just came out, really great game. It works a lot like the original Pac-Man, but they were very thoughtful in the things that they changed, but also the things that they kept the same. One of the things they kept the same, of course, is that these ghosts will kill you if they catch you, but you can eat a power pill, and that turns them blue, right? And when they're blue, they're running away from you, and you can catch up to them and eat them, right? In the original Pac-Man, every new ghost that you ate was worth twice as much as the last one, right? Up to 4, and that was it, right? So you could get 200, 400, 800, 1,600 points. In Pac-Man Championship Edition, if there are a bunch of power pills around, you can like keep chaining it. So you eat 4 ghosts, and you let them go back and respawn, and as long as like the power pill mode is still active, you can eat a new one, and as long as the timer hasn't expired, then the next ghost will be like, 3,200 points or whatever. It doesn't actually double in Championship Edition, but the points keep going up like that. So that's something that they changed from the original game. There's a subtlety here, right, which is that the way that you know that the timer is about to expire is that the ghosts are flashing, and they've flashed, maybe a certain number of times, and then they turn back to their regular color, okay? In Pac-Man Championship Edition, when you eat all 4 of the ghosts, you no longer have a visual indicator of when the timer is going to expire. So it's this really interesting, tipping point. I can eat 3 of the ghosts and stay near the power pill and just wait for the guys to respawn and come close to me, and I know when exactly is the last minute I can grab that pill by watching the Force Ghost. Or you can just be like, I'm going to eat them all, and I'm just going to kind of wing it and hope I grab the thing in time to get the bonus, right? This game is full of subtleties like that the player can always be thinking about. In a game that's ostensibly Pac-Man, right? So my point with that, if I can figure out what it is simply that games can be really rich with subtlety, but we have to be open to discovering the subtlety, right? And if we go into it with I'm going to innovate, man. I'm going to focus and create the coolest new thing that anyone ever saw, and if we force that from the top down, then we're not open to these discoveries. Early in my talk this morning, I talked about how systems perhaps inherently are biased toward revealing truth. And I think that these subtleties are there's somehow aspects of truth or aspects of the world that we live in that we can come to a better understanding through game design, which is maybe weird if you're not a game designer to think that, but I believe that. If you want to come to that kind of understanding, I think you have to be careful about innovation. You can't come at it with this top-down mentality. You have to have more of a flowing kind of mentality, a give and take. And that's it.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks. And last speaker for today is Robert J. Spencer. Robert J. Spencer is the Chief Operating Officer of Interzone Entertainment, global game publisher headquartered in Chicago, their main development studio in Perth. Robert's got many, many years of experience working in all aspects of the industry, and has worked on sort of the business side and development side. And really interestingly, I think, also played an instrumental role in several magazines launching, including Australian PC Gamer. If anyone remembers the first few issues of Australian PC Gamer, probably one of the best magazines to kind of come out locally. So, please welcome Robert J. Spencer.
Okay, so I'm not going to run with the deck. That's obviously a recipe for disaster. So, being the former editor of Australian PC Gamer, I'm partly responsible for this mantra of innovation in every game that comes out. It's especially when you're sitting down and playing 10 games a week and you've got to write 1,000 words about a new game. It gets pretty hard to talk about what's different about this game. And that's the easiest way to talk about a game. This is like Quake, but it does this. And so I think a lot of this drive for innovation is about how are we going to write about this game and make it sound interesting. Whereas in reality, the drive for innovation isn't all that great in the games industry. How many of you have played the same game, exactly the same game, more than once? It's basically everyone. So why do people get so upset when Tomb Raider 578 comes out and is exactly the same as Tomb Raider 576? Because if you're interested in Tomb Raider, you're probably happy to play Tomb Raider again. It doesn't have to be an entirely innovative new game. And so I think that I completely agree with the trivialization of innovation from that perspective. It becomes more like fashion. We've got to come up with a new something. It's got to be different. Hollywood does it, the fashion industry does it, to a certain extent the music industry does it, and the game industry is definitely guilty of it to a very large extent as well. But that doesn't necessarily mean that